My name is Crystal Wood. You might know me as Raven's Muse, the ghostwriter, blogger, and book reviewer. This week's episode is about a hybrid author who breaks all the rules. When it comes to tropes, plot structure, endings, and even her own love life, she doesn't let the expectations of others dictate who she is or what she can do. I admit it, vampires have always been a guilty pleasure of mine. With fierce eyes and perfect skin, there's a certain allure to the tall, dark, and mysterious stranger with a tortured past. It's the kind of fantasy that made every teenage girl from my generation wish they could date a pasty, depressed alpha douche that's way too old for them. I know, it's problematic. But that was why I was so excited to meet this author. I read her first book and it blew my mind. I'll tell you right now, it's not what you expect from your typical vampire romance. So buckle up, bitches. It's about to get weird. Now, without any further ado, please welcome R.E. Carr.
Oh, the barkeep has arrived.
Nice. All right. I guess, are you ready to get this shit rolling?
I've got booze.
All right.
I'm here.
Okay. So, welcome to Writing Happy Hour, where we get your favorite authors drunk and then ask them questions. Please give a warm welcome to hybrid author extraordinaire, R.E. Carr. She hides. Thank you.
Hybrid makes me sound like a vampire and a werewolf or something.
Well, I mean, it could be. Anyway, welcome and thank you for being here. Cheers to you for making time for this interview in the middle of the work week.
Friday somewhere. Actually, it is. I think in the eastern half of the earth.
What are you drinking?
I am drinking my favorite beverage, which is the Pisco Sour. My dad, as he told me about 5 million times, did his dissertation in Peru and was always telling me about Pisco, which is this Peruvian brandy of sorts. And the Pisco Sour was their answer after World War II for the whiskey sour. But it used Peruvian brandy, limes instead of lemons, still got the egg white and the bitters. But the bitters they use in South America they're sexy.
Did hubby make that for you? Is he like a...
Hubby had to learn to make this drink because for our 10th anniversary, we went to the Waldorf Astoria, which is also famous for this drink, and had it there. And I told him that if he wanted to stay married to me, he needed to learn how to make this. So he did.
So he said, okay. But
yeah, they serve it in a martini glass there as opposed to a highball glass like they do at most places. If you're lucky, and you ask at a Peruvian restaurant, they'll know how to make it. Some other places do, but it also featured in a book of mine because I wanted to educate the world on this amazing drink.
That's awesome. Well, for those of you who have been hiding under a rock, Rachel is the brilliant mind behind the Rules Undying series, as well as Rick Gualtieri's co-author for False Icons. She is also getting some love for the sci-fi series, The Download Files, right? Which is...
Yes, it's a series now. That's my big announcement for this podcast. So I saved one for you.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's actually brand new. It was a standalone until a couple weeks ago. Now it's going to be a series.
That's fucking awesome. And you just unveiled the amazing new cover not very long ago. And I'm going to throw that up on the screen right here. Look at this bad boy. It is fun.
Oh, yeah.
What can you tell us about the Download Files?
The Download Files is, 15 years of my life to start it. I don't know. I started writing when I was like a teenager. I wrote basically Dungeons and Dragons fanfic, let's face it. I did a lot of making my own high fantasy world, but at some point I realized my heart was always in science. I was going to go to school for physics. I had lots of interesting times there, and I just got entranced with certain ideas before other sci-fi franchises did them, but after 15 years, they're probably going to think she copied them. But it's sort of my own unique spin on the simulated universe theory that, if you're in a simulation deep enough, would you know the difference between reality? And what started as just, hey, what happens if a slacker from Boston gets sent halfway across the universe, turned into a whole series. And it kind of has a lot of, it's called the download files because it has a very X-Files-y vibe. I have a unabashed love-hate relationship with little gray aliens ever since I was traumatized by Close Encounters as a child. Yeah, and I wanted to take basically all the things they said you couldn't mix, like my love of anthropology, Neanderthals, missing civilizations with a bunch of mythology. You know, let's throw in what happened to the Roanoke colony, the X-Files, and hot kitty boy sex, because everything is better with hot kitty boy sex.
That's true. Oh my God, my phone is blowing up. Let me turn it off really quick.
I summoned them with hot kitty boy sex. I joke because that was a review. The review, my favorite review was like, oh, there's all this great science and stuff. Why does the main character have to have sex? And I'm like,
why not?
Why not?
As a hybrid author, can you tell us a little bit about your experience with traditional publishing versus indie publishing?
They are completely different animals, and they have kind of their strengths and weaknesses. I will say, as an indie author, I love the freedom. Like, nobody's telling me what to do, except for my editors who keep telling me that I have to put commas in places. I mean, does anyone really know where commas go?
You read it through Grammarly, and it's like after and, before and, maybe, you don't know.
I firmly ascribe to not only the Oxford comma, but the Shatner comma, which is just random pauses in places.
Dramatic.
Yeah.
Pauses for
emphasis.
Yeah.
Yes. So you wanted to know about indie. So yeah, as an indie author, you get a lot of freedom. And with great freedom comes great responsibility, both financial and creative. Because guess what? If everything goes right, you get to take all the credit. But when things inevitably go wrong, it's all your fault. But I like it for things that I don't think would be published otherwise. But that being said, I am one of those authors who still has to work full time for insurance. And thus, I love traditional publishing. I don't care if I get less money. I don't care if I don't get a say in the cover. Okay, I do. Actually, I really care. But I care less than having hours of my life, because you find that when you're splitting your time becomes exceptionally precious. And being freed from some of the decision making, being freed from some of the processes is huge. But yeah, on the flip side, you lose some of that freedom. And I mean, yeah, I couldn't make my Shingles book, which I am part of that series, unless I was publishing it myself, because nobody really wants parody lit RPG, or maybe they do, but certainly not the way with the grossness that I deliver it. Yeah, you know, my Vampires was published through an Amazon imprint, which is always rough to explain because people go, oh, you're published on Amazon. I said, I'm published by Amazon, which is a very different animal. And I try to explain it, and they look at me like I have two heads. I don't have two heads, do I?
Not that I can tell, but maybe you will after I finish this. Yeah,
that is true. Ooh, this is very strong, and I love it.
Yeah.
But no, I would say that there is no right or wrong. Like, anyone who tells you there's a right or wrong, they're trying to sell you something.
Did you start off as a traditional published author, and then you branched out, right?
I did a few, and it's kind of weird because I'm in a shared IP. So I'm published by Free Will Press, which is Rick Gualtieri's LLC. So it's kind of like, is it self-published or is it sort of by him? Does he self-publish for somebody? Like, it doesn't quite work. And another little surprise, I do have a contract with Falstaff Press now. So
that is so cool. I have been hearing more and more about Falstaff, just like seeing them pop up everywhere in my news feed, because I read a lot of the authors that are going through them now.
Yeah, they like quirky, and definitely I don't sell the most mainstream. Like, if you read like Save the Cat to get story beats, you go, the cats run off to Georgia and come back 6 times. Have you saved? Are you going to save it? Are you having a détente with the cat? Is there even a cat? Oh my God, it's a weasel.
Speaking of cats, you have.
Yes. I am now officially a crazy cat lady. I have 2 cats.
They are so cute too. I see them, their little white fuzzy butts all over Facebook.
Yes, and here's the funny thing. I'm a goth. I wear a lot of black and dark colors, and I have 2 white cats. Lint rollers are my friends.
They're like wizards that got turned into cats.
They are. I mean, my first one, he's Griff Endor. Carr. That was the name he came with. So I couldn't resist a double entendre Star Wars Hogwarts name at the shelter, and he was just majestic as you know what. He is the most mellow, loving, sweet, fluffy boy. And a few weeks ago, 2 weeks to the day of this recording, I adopted a unadoptable, super shy kitty who immediately came out and sat in my lap. So clearly she was just waiting for me. So it worked out.
You've been chosen.
I was chosen. Her name was Tsunami Luna. So it's like, okay, I'm getting a theme here that all the geek abandoned cats are coming to my home. But she's a Hemingway cat. So if you're familiar with that, Ernest Hemingway loved cats that were polydactyl. So as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh crap, I'm a writer and there's a Hemingway cat available outside of Boston. Like, who am I to question the universe?
That's awesome. Well,
they also kill my fish.
I heard. My condolences.
Yeah. They I have child safety locks on my fish tanks, which is really great first thing in the morning when you're trying to feed your fish and like having to figure out child locks. But it does prevent any more accidents because fish are not cheap, not all of them.
Right. Yeah, I have child locks on my doors and I have to take my dog out to pee in the morning. So I feel you there, trying to like hold my bladder while he's trying to hold his bladder and then take him out to pee before I can even think about my own self because, you know.
Yeah, I have the same argument. It's like I have 4 fish tanks to maintain and it's like, do I urinate before or after doing all this? Because it can be epic some days. And there's nothing worse than realizing you have to do a water change and so always, if I give you no other advice that you take away from this interview, is never attempt to do a water change on a 40-gallon aquarium while you have to pee.
Oh, that sounds awful. Yeah, definitely.
That's what alcohol does to you.
We're just gonna explode with all the TMI for everyone.
Oh, I am nothing but TMI. I am a open book in Braille, large point font with an audiobook running simultaneously. So
that sounds phenomenal.
Yeah.
with your first Rules Undying book, I was so excited to see the complete disregard for the rules of the genre.
I know. That's the joke. My editor was like, you write a book about rules and you break all of them. Like,
right. And it's a traditionally published book, which you would expect they would be like, you're not hitting the beats. Like, this isn't, you know. And
well, I got picked. I was different.
Oh my word. And whatever it is that you're expecting when you walk into this book, I'm just forewarning all of you out there, you're not getting that. That's not what these vampires don't sparkle. They're not glamorized. You're not
wait for the sequel for that.
You're not fetishizing rude fucking behavior and toxic relationships. And my God, it's fucking beautiful. So can you tell us a little bit about why you chose to go against the grain so hard? You hadn't even been published yet. This was your first book, right?
This is my first book. Oh, this is the story that everyone goes, wait, what? So as I said, I am a person who has to split my time. By day, I'm an accountant, if you can believe that. Yes, this hair.
I absolutely believe that.
I'm an auditor of all things. I am the person nobody likes in accounting. And I had gone to school for creative writing and never could get published and went through a lot of just drama and trauma and all the things that put you behind creatively. And I finally got my degree in accounting, and I said, okay, maybe I should listen to the universe. I need to settle down, get a job, abandon all these random ideas, and I'm going to go for my master's, get my CPA, and just be an accountant, be responsible. But very important, but I said, I can't without rolling the dice one more time. I need to know. Maybe with all this life experience, maybe with everything, maybe because my mom was dying at the time, I had to try one more time. And I said, okay, universe, I'm going to write one more book. I'm going to try one time, just once, to get it published. And depending on what happens, I will either give up, be an accountant, like obviously you want me to be, or screw it, no CPA for me, and I'm going to keep writing. So I had no ideas. I had nothing. But I said, you know what? Limits facilitate creativity. If you don't have an idea, force yourself into a box that you hate and work your way out of it. Basically, be told no, be told what to do, hate it, and do something. So I had a wonderful supportive group of friends and coworkers who also like to fuck with me. And I said, give me rules. Whatever rules you give me, I will absolutely adhere to. I'll make this list and I will write one book. And thus, of course, I had an epic 3-day post-lunch diatribe because I had a daughter. She was a teenager. She wanted to read Twilight. And as a responsible parent, I read the whole damn series first to see if it was appropriate. I am not going to diss Stephenie Meyer. That's easy. That's what a lot of vampire writers want to do. She's enormously successful, and I think it's amazing. It might not be my cup of tea, but by God, she wrote what she wanted. She did something different. And I may have also, after a taco lunch, had a little venting session, and my friends got sick of hearing it. And I vented about all the vampire romances and all my feelings, complicated and not so complicated that they were, about how I hated it's just a bunch of older men basically being necrophiliac pedophiles. This is stupid. It's been done to death. Everything has a vampire in it. It's not necessarily compelling. They're always in high school, all these things. And thus my friends said, you know what? I think we know what you need to write. You, young lady, need to write a vampire romance. And I went, what? You said you were going to take our rules. Oh, okay. And there had to be an actual encounter with a vampire. No cheating, no getting out of it. I'm like, oh, okay. And you have to name someone Steve. What?
No.
Steve? That's my least sexy name on the planet. I am sorry to all the Steves in the world, but you don't generally think of Francois. You think of
it's a more Stefano though, like you worked your way around that shit.
I worked my way around that shit. I had used cilantro as a plot point. I had to have a ginger. I needed to work in the Arthurian legend. I had just a ridiculous list. Like, no sane person, anyone would have looked at that and gone, Art, what are you thinking? What next? Are you going to do flashbacks? Because I always remember from Funny Farm, like my favorite scene in that movie is like, you have all these flashbacks and flash forwards, and I think there's even a flash sideways. It's awful. So of course, knowing that, and especially after just reading an article of like never use flashbacks, never. I decided for myself, my own rule would be I would tell the entire story as a series of flashbacks. I should have put a damn prologue in, but baby steps for breaking everything. So yeah, with this ridiculous list, I was kind of afraid. I'm like, well, you know what? This is my last throw at the universe. I'm going to put in all the shit I want. I'm going to have hallucinogenic vampire semen because nobody's ever going to publish that. I think I was self-sabotaging. And you know what? There's going to be no magic. Zip. Zero. I am going to science my way out of all of this crap in a vampire romance. And thus, Rules Undying was born. And I thought, nobody's going to read this. I went to my beta readers and they're like, are you on drugs? Not that I know of. But I had one beta reader who said, it's pretty good, but the ending is it's too dark. It's too expected. You can do better. And I looked at her and I said, what? I have to do this in like 3 days. I have to turn it in. I promised the universe I was going to do this just once and rewrite the ending. So I rewrote the ending in 48 hours. And I submitted it while intoxicated. I wrote my bio while shit-faced.
You know what though? I honestly kind of believe it, because through that whole ending, I was like, what?
I was not intoxicated writing the ending. I was just intoxicated while submitting.
Oh, I would have been terrified to submit that ending too, because I was so confused. And then I was like, wait. And then I had to go back and read certain things, because I was like, my brain exploded. I was like,
I have had several people go, I don't know what your drugs are, but I want some. Because I've been told, even people who don't necessarily like the book, they love the ending, because it's like, it's very, that was kind of my big tribute to M. Night Shyamalan, because when he's good, I love twists. I love surprising people. I won't say any more, because if people want to read it, but the thing is, that's just the first twist. As you go through the series, everything builds up and it keeps flipping and flipping. Or as people who read my award winner, which is the sequel 6, went, what? Wait, but
it definitely, you definitely want to go into the next book and figure out what the fuck happens next, because
I break all the rules. I take the next book and I start with a completely different character in a completely different place. And you don't know how they fit. And so you can actually read 4 or 6 in either order. It doesn't matter. You can start from either point and they get it. And yet they got published. In fact, they were like, we've never seen this before. And I'm like, have you not watched the Marvel Universe? It's my version of the Marvel Universe. There's like the Thor movie. There's the Captain America. There's the Iron Man. You can watch them in any order in the beginning.
Ragnarok.
And once they start interlocking at Avengers, you have to go forward.
Yep. Oh man.
So yeah, I threw that in. I threw in Predator as a plot point.
Oh my god. You had like a little bit, I noticed you had like a lot of food appreciation kind of scenes, where it was like you get the enjoyment of traveling to other places and enjoying exotic treats and stuff. And
it's funny, yeah. I hadn't been to Japan when I wrote 4. I used my royalties before, and I went to Japan and I went to some of those places. I'm like, yeah,
that is so appropriate, because
it was. Oh God, yeah. I have a rule with every book, every advance. I get one fun thing, no matter what. It's just for me, and the rest is practical and goes to taxes, because I'm an accountant by day. But no, I mean, I've got the first thing I had to do with my advance before was I had to get a writing laptop, because I couldn't keep sharing with my daughter. And then for the next one, when I did 6, that's what paid for Japan.
I haven't read 6 yet. I'm working my way into that one.
I will say that's the one you'll probably be able to tell, well, that's the one that got the award. And the funny thing about that one is you think, oh, and I had people go, you must have plotted that so intricately. You must have had a really strong outline because it's got such good pacing. And I'm like, oh, honey, I wrote that for NaNoWriMo. I have pants the shit out of that.
Oh my God, no.
Yeah, I did. I did it. And I'm like, I got featured on the NaNoWriMo website talking about that. I said, I guess what it is, the thing about Rules Undying is every book, I break a rule. I break a rule consistently because that is the rule. You have to break one at some point. 10 is the one I have to apologize for in advance because I break the rule everyone hates, which is the cliffhanger.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, and it's not just any cliffhanger. It's the cliffhanger that I've had people go, we love you, but we kind of hate you.
Why have you done this to me?
Yeah, I got a lot of, why have you done that to me?
Oh my God. That was how I felt reading through the ending of 4. I was like,
oh,
why
4
are
is
you doing
4 is the
this to me?
warm
I
up.
was just being stabbed repeatedly.
Oh no. If you think that step, I'm really sorry in advance for Ted, because even my own family is like,
Why are
you
you
hate
like
humans?
this?
That's what I think my favorite was, like, one person like, I missed my exit while listening to this audiobook because I couldn't believe what you did. And I think that's the best review I've ever gotten.
You know what? Cheers to that. Cheers to breaking all the rules, because it is definitely working for you, and it's definitely going to make me read the next one. So
Thank you. I said it's a series that's very close to my heart, because I do always wish that my mom could have read any of it. Not that she would read, but she would at least read the back
well,
and
you have
skim and
you have
ask
the
me what
main
happened.
character that is like basically a caregiver, and
Yep.
did that tie into that for you? Like,
I will say there's a bit of wish fulfillment in that, and it's probably not what people think. People go, "Oh, are you your main character?" And I always kind of think that part of me is really Mr. Lamley, the pathetic vampire. He's probably the character that I feel is most like me.
oh,
That or
I love-
Steve. I'm very Steve.
I I liked Mr. Lamley. I actually used to be a caregiver. I worked for IHSS and took care of people, and the last home stretch, so to speak. And I think maybe that was one of the reasons why I appreciated the book so much, was because you don't benefit people that are declining by enabling them and coddling them, and sometimes it's just a matter of like treating them like they're a human being and like they are capable, and that like makes them feel more capable.
It is. And that was a lot of what I took up. I said, so many people go for just the same tropes, but I'm like, the whole thing when I was starting the book, when I was completely lost looking at this list, I finally asked, you know what, how do vampires comb their hair if they don't have reflection? And at that moment, it was like lightning hit. And I started, instead of focusing on the vampires, I focused on the caregivers. I focused on the very human element. And you can kind of have a little bit of fun when you have someone caring for something that you don't think can die. And what would it be like if someone who thinks that they're immortal is kind of reduced down to thinking that it's going to be the end? And you can get a lot of human emotions out of the supernatural, and you can kind of veil it, because at that point it was very raw, like because my mother was declining. So by sort of setting it apart, I thought I could tell a story that hadn't been told and give it a little bit of depth, and still have the words hallucinogenic vampire semen in there.
Definitely. Speaking of, this has nothing to do with what we were just talking about. Let's talk about bread sluts.
Oh, bread sluts. I so need to make an unapologetic bread slut t-shirt. When these trying and unprecedented times started happening and we were stuck at home, I had always been a pretty accomplished cook. Like, I know how to cook a lot of savory dishes, but I had always sucked at baking. Like, genuinely sucked at it. So I said, you know what? I'm going to better myself and make something tasty. And also, I was kind of like, there's a flour shortage? What? So thus, I had a
really bad time for this, you guys.
I had a panic binge buy of all this flour. Like, I got a deal to get to because you have to do a lot to get the free shipping. And suddenly I had these bags of all these interesting flours. I had spelt, I had Coruscant, I had warthog wheat, which is not nearly as disgusting as it sounds. It's actually delicious. I have Sobako, which is buckwheat and wheat flour mix to make soba noodles. I had corn flour, I had gluten-free flour, I had almond flour. I kind of overdid it in a little bit of panicking. So I said, okay, what can I do? I'm going to learn how to make bread. I could make a few before, but I'm going to try all different kinds. So I learned how to make baguettes. I've learned how to make ciabatta. I can make rustic sourdough bowls. I do the no knead crispy top. I do a lot of the Japanese tangzong method, or udana method, which is where you use kind of a flour roux to keep it very fluffy and moist for longer. So it basically makes the world's most delicious Wonder Bread. And my kid loves it. So I make a lot of that.
That is awesome. And that'll be like a cool memory for them. And you have all these beautiful pictures of bread on your social media pages. It's just bread slut of the day.
Bread slut of the day. I was like, sometimes I'm a pie hoe, sometimes I'm just a tart. And I couldn't say cookie bitch. That's where they actually drew the line, in case you're ever wondering.
Oh.
But I took these things and I said, okay, I need to keep a social media presence going. And what am I going to talk about? I'm stuck at home. I can't write because my head's not in the game. Yeah. So I just started sharing bread, and I found a lot of people who were like frustrated and they didn't know what to do. And I walked them through recipes and helped them out. I did around the holidays. I taught a bunch of people how to make pie crust.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, so once you get, it's science. That's the thing. What people don't get is baking is much closer to science than other types of cooking. And I got a scale, and I have a mixer, and I do my thing. And now I'm a bread slut.
Bread chemist slut.
I know, yeah. People really want to be approved by the bread slut. So I will bread slut approve any baked good that meets my standards. It has to be made from, I don't mind mixes. Like, I'm not going to judge, please. If you need to do a mix, do a mix. Just look at the ingredients. But I will only bread slut approve from scratch. I even made croissants without having any countertops.
Oh my God.
And I don't have any air
conditioning. Like a lot of like pressing the layers down together, right? Like.
Yep, I did it on top of my washing machine.
Goddamn. Well, that's pretty hardcore. What's your favorite thing to cook that you've made so far?
Oh my God, this vanilla olive oil cake that we did for our anniversary. It was triple vanilla. So it had vanilla bean sugar, my Peruvian, their prized, very expensive, tiny bottle of extract. And it had vanilla infused olive oil. And it was people say, oh, it's plain vanilla. Like, do you have any idea where vanilla comes from? It's like handpicked from orchids in like war-torn areas, and has to be like pollinated by hand, picked by hand, and it's a motherfucking orchid. And you think that's not sexy? And if you pay for fair trade vanilla, oh God, yeah, you appreciate it. You appreciate it a lot.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
What are your top 3 favorite books? And
my top 3
about those books that you love so much.
Well, as lame as it sounds, I'll do the 3 like important books of recent. Like, obviously, I have lots of books that I love, but The Martian by Andy Weir. If you can't tell, I do love science. I am a total nerd, but I also loved his characters, his straightforward style. And anytime you save the day with a potato, you have me at hello. I actually got to email him. It was like, I hold this email very close to my heart. But no, he's a very nice man. He's a very great writer. And it was just showed what you could do, that you didn't have to do something traditionally to still have success. My other like important / favorite book is The Morning Woods by Rick Gualtieri. Do not tell him. I hope he's not watching this. So the simple reason is, and this is my dirty confession time, I wasn't a huge Bill the Vampire fan for the first 2 books.
No.
I liked them okay, but I just didn't feel like it did anything different than just being the jerks that I knew from D&D talking to me. I didn't feel the hook yet, but then I said, I'm going to do one more book. Because I knew like the audiobooks are fabulous. Like the performance really brings it in, but origin stories don't always hook me. And the second one, I was starting to get a little more, but I'm like, I still don't know. And then I read The Morning Woods and I'm like, okay, he got me. He did something different. I really liked it. And obviously that book changed my life, because in one drunken night, I said, what if we told the story from the Sasquatch side? And when he said he was going to expand his universe, that was the thought that came back and said, what if they're like the everyone's a hero in their own story. So what if we tell their side of it, and thus the False Icon series is born?
That's an origin story all in itself.
And now he's gonna say, "Oh my God, I don't hate his books. I didn't hate his books, but that was the one that hooked
I mean,
me."
obviously you didn't hate them if you continued reading them. So
yeah, that's the book that I love of the series, of all of them. I because it's the one that's the most out there.
There are some books where the audio version just really shines a little bit more. Like for Robert Bevan's books, the Critical Failures books,
Definitely an audio.
I started off with the audio books, and you don't get the same experience when you don't have the acting, you know.
I find that lit RPG in general, I prefer in audio, because reading like plus 15 XP is not the most exciting. I can't wait to see what my lit RPG sounds like in audio when the next Jingles collection comes out. So
I'll be waiting.
Yeah. I joke what I lack in grossness of the other guys, I make up for in nerdiness. So,
nice.
I did that. But the last book, yes, like important book, there's one called The Adventures of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
It was actually it was a BBC series that I think was on Netflix, but it's another nerdgasm of details. But this time it is magic, but it's kind of treating magic as a science. And it's incredibly dense and twisty and turny and everything that I love when I need just a little warm comfort read. It's a doorstop. Susanna Clarke wrote it. It's very British. It's like pound cake in book form. It's rich and sweet and dense, yet you can't stop. So I would say that's one of the ones that helped get me back into my flow.
That's awesome. The audiobook of 4, which is the first book in Rules Undying, if any of you have not been paying attention.
Oh, you want to talk about my coup of the century? Who narrates it?
This is not a book that you can put on and like fall asleep to, I have to say, because it continues to engage you and you want to know what happens next, so you can't fall asleep through it. Can you tell us a little bit how the audiobook version of that project came together?
There was alcohol involved. Story involved by Bert. No, not that much. But what happened was, I don't know if you know how the audiobook process works, but if you're producing it, which in my case I was, because I owned the audio rights and I wanted to at least once have that creative control. I wanted to direct it because, like all actors in younger life, my goal was to direct. So I went on ACX and I auditioned for narrators, and I'd gotten someone and then they backed out. So I was looking again and I heard this voice and I loved it. And she could do a British accent and she could speak Spanish and she could do everything. And, I know she'd been acting since she was 13. I thought, oh, this is great. I think she's perfect. I'm going to ask her. And then I looked and said, oh, she's on Castlevania. Like, I figured it was like additional voices, something else, like, oh, that's so cool. So I just asked her. And then my husband went and said, honey, did you look at IMDb? And I'm like, no. She is in Castlevania. Like, oh yeah. So I have the one and only Saifa Benendez, who is also in like Dota. She's in the Winx Club.
She's really good. She is
amazing. And when she sent the sample, I'm like, are there two people talking? Because her Gale and her Georgia sounded so different.
Yeah.
But she did the sample for 6 first, and her Lorcan. I'm like, is she playing an Irish dude? And yet she still sounds good. I'm like, okay. But then I'm like, but she's Saifa. There's no way she's going to say yes to me. But I asked her and she said yes. And I'm also happy to announce that the contracts are out and signed for 0 and 1. So the last 2 Rules Undying books will be released in the next 2 years.
Oh my God, that's wonderful.
They're big, the books. And there is a bit of delay. I can't just do them overnight because I love her narration, but I have to compete with Netflix. And guess who gets priority and pays her more?
Yeah. Okay. I get that. I get it.
But since I can now say, oh God, you want to talk about being awful, like all my friends are like, so is Alejandra working on your books or something else? Because that's their way of asking, like, is there going to be another season of Castlevania? And I'm like, and I knew, like, I had to be dead silent. I'm not going to mess with Netflix lawyers, but I knew that season 4 was coming out for months before other people. And I don't even think my husband knew. He kept asking me. I'm like, I can't say.
Oh my God. I have to sign NDAs because I'm a ghostwriter. And so nobody can know exactly what I'm working on.
Yeah.
Or, that's just.
But at least I can talk about things like when you set up this interview, I couldn't talk about a bunch of stuff. And now I can because like Sins of the Past. Nice. The new Bill of the Dead False Icons crossover is coming out on May 11th, 2021. I can talk about it now.
That's awesome.
Because like I couldn't, not that Rick would ever like say anything, but I wanted to make sure it was announced. I can talk about that.
He's not going to prosecute, but you didn't want to ruin his launch. Yeah.
Traditional publishing does have that kind of yoke around your neck that you can't talk about everything immediately.
Right. You have to work around their schedule when it comes to releasing.
But I can say there will be another R.E. Carr shingles coming out in 2021, which I'm happy to announce is Girl 2, The Authors Needed More Money. The first ever shingles direct sequel. Because everybody wanted that, right?
It's in high demand. High demand.
Well, people asked if I was ever going to do any more in the world. And I said, you know what? Why not? Like, that's my shtick. Other people, they've got various bodily fluids in the southeastern United States. I'm just going to be nerds in Tokyo being different in the same world.
Awesome. If you were trapped in a life and death situation and you could have one of your characters watching your back, who would you pick?
If I could have one of them, I'd take Paige from 6. She's probably the most capable person I've ever done, who's also still relatable. Like, you think, why don't you take the few thousand-year-old vampire? I'm like, no, they don't think like in human weaknesses.
And you can't always trust them. Like they're only in it as long as it benefits them in some way a lot of times.
If barring that, if I couldn't have her, I would take Ian from the Download File series because he is also exceptionally competent, but I can't say why because spoilers.
And I haven't read that one yet either, so that one's gonna have to be like my next big undertaking.
Did I mention there was hot kitty boy sex?
Hot kitty boy sex.
Yep.
Cheers to that. I'm gonna need another drink.
There's also like science and stuff, but
yeah. Well, let's just cheers to science then.
I will drink to that.
I need a top off.
I don't blame you. I have to be a slight lightweight because I do have to get up and work in the morning.
All right. I'm just gonna do like single.
But shot. I think there's enough alcohol in this for 2 drinks. My husband did not stick around.
Oh. Husbands are the best bartenders.
I like mine. Best free gift with purchase I ever got off eBay.
You purchased? I'm
not even kidding.
Off eBay?
I got my husband off eBay.
That's awesome. I also heard of people getting their husbands off Craigslist, but never eBay. That's a new one.
I got him off eBay, and I'm probably the only person you've ever met who left their fiance to start dating their husband. And I did run off with the help.
That, you know what? That sounds like it could be a book all of its own. So I want to hear this story in depth.
I've told the story, but nobody believes it. They said, you can't write it. It's too ridiculous. But yeah, no, I was
in a rom-com, you guys.
I was engaged for a long time with a man who basically said that being married was just a piece of paper, and I don't need a piece of paper to say that I love you. And while it was kind of cute at first, I was just getting tired of it. And, things don't always work out. I mean, there's no hard feelings now, but it came to a point where it's like, well, our babysitter needs to stay in the US, and it's just a piece of paper. Now, as you can establish by my book writing things, I will do pretty much anything on a dare. I didn't expect him to go, okay, fine. And I don't think he expected me to go, okay, fine. And I went off to City Hall and I married the babysitter. Now, before INS comes looking for me, we did actually have a relationship. We did hook up. There was no shenanigans. I just dumped my fiance and dated my husband, and we've been together and we're happily ever after. But I pretty much pulled a Jude Law and ran off with the nanny.
That's kind of awesome.
I like to think so. We were just a better match
And
in the end. And both my ex and I are happy now, so you can kind of tell the story. I'm sure I'm still a villain in his story, though.
well, and to your husband, you could tell that he was good with your child, which is a huge deal.
That is true.
He's
a stay-at-home dad, so he is very good with kids.
That's a big deal when you're like looking at going into a relationship and you have a child. Like, you need to have somebody who you know is going to get along with, or someone you know your child is going to be able to love and trust and, you know, have that relationship with. So, I mean, you already had that going for you, so.
It was a bonus, I won't lie. But no, it worked out in the end, and I'm just glad we're all happy. And now, like, our daughter is 23.
Oh my God, you have a grown child.
Yeah. And then I have my baby. He'll be 16 in August. The best birthday present I ever got.
Oh.
Yes, we share a birthday. When he was little, he thought birthday was just, you know, it was the first day of August. It's birthday. It's a holiday because his mom and he celebrated it.
It's everybody's birthday. Everybody is born on the 1st of August.
Yes, including Jason Momoa, Jerry Garcia, and it was Egyptian New Year in the ancient world.
That's amazing. What kind of music do you listen to while you write? Do you have a soundtrack for?
Oh yeah, every book has a playlist. Now I don't. Sometimes when I'm writing, I may just have instrumental in the background because sometimes words can cross. But when I have to take walks on my break, when I'm at my day job, I tend to listen to my writing playlist to kind of keep it in the back of my head. And every book has a playlist. And there are certain actual, I can say there are certain scenes in my book that have a song. It's just like, it's their theme song. There's one from 10 that everyone, like I've heard people who hear the song and go, oh my God. And there was one song by V&V Nation that was it was an instrumental, but I wrote a scene in the download, which is the download files, book 1. I wrote the scene to it. It had no words. It did not have words at the time. Later in a live show, they added words to it. And I heard the vocal version and it describes what's happening in the scene. And I'm like,
this is some collective consciousness shit.
There is some collective consciousness shit. And I did get the joy of finally hunting down a song to use in an upcoming book. So one of my playlist songs, I get to have the rights to actually write the lyrics to, which if you're a writer, like getting that is so huge.
Oh my God.
I can't say any more yet until it's all like signed, but one of my favorite artists, I will get to use his beautiful lyrics. Which are infinitely better than any song lyric.
That's amazing. Oh my God, that's awesome.
Also, I was inebriated when I wrote it. It's how I got it to be a guest at Dragon Con too. I applied while shit-faced.
Oh my God. See, and here you are drinking on writing happy hour. Some people are able to get everywhere while they're shit-faced and are living proof.
I would say it's tipsy. I have a lot of rejection dysmorphia. Even though I know that you have to be rejected to actually succeed in things, it can be tough. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll prepare it sober, I'll submit it drunk.
So that you're not afraid of
so that I'm not afraid. And I find that when I'm writing like marketing shit, I am better slightly lubricated.
Nice. For me, it's more like a social anxiety thing that I lean on alcohol for because
It's true.
I'm petrified to have a conversation and say something really stupid. Probably like leftover fear of being a homeschool kid and just saying awkward things in public and everybody in the room looking at you like, you know.
I would argue having brightly colored hair helps because they expect you to be a little bit weird. That's
true. I do notice that like I attract the right people when I have, my brightly colored hair. All the people that I want in my life just seem to like flock to it like a beacon. All the little queer teenage kids know that they can come to my house and be safe. Everybody knows that they can count on me for a hug if they've had a bad day. And I'm non-threatening because I'm, a middle-aged lady with blue hair. That pretty much just.
As a middle-aged lady with blue hair, I can completely confer the non-threatening. Also, sometimes when you're in a professional environment, people kind of go, wait, what? Because they either assume something hinky's going on, or if they can look like this and still do that, they must be
good at their job.
which I am.
They don't coast. They don't coast by on being mediocre if they have blue hair.
No, I don't also have much of a filter, which can be good and bad, as you can tell. In case you're wondering, just to go back one step, on my playlist, I have a lot of industrial, I have a lot of trance, I have a lot of goth, and I have weird collection of punk covers of pop songs.
Oh, Punk Goes Pop. I love those. Or Punk Goes Crunk. Have you had that one? The umbrella.
I have Bye 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 done by like Aesthetic Perfection, and it's perfection.
Oh man, there's some Taylor Swift songs that come out really good in those punk versions.
I also have like really sad, morose versions of happy songs, and vice versa. I have really happy, upbeat versions, and I have about 40 million Depeche Mode covers because why not?
Oh my goodness, there are some great Depeche Mode songs. I had a couple Depeche Mode CDs back in ye olden days before the internet was so easy for people to access. And they were a lot of my writing playlists too.
I will say Enjoy the Silence, such an ironic name song considering how much I talk. But that was the song that changed my life because I saw the video for it and I heard it and I went, I like this. And I started watching 120 minutes and now look at me.
You know what? Depeche Mode had some great fucking lyrics. They were always very thoughtful and poetic with the lyrical side of their music. And plus his voice is just beautiful. Why do you post random pictures of Jeff Goldblum? Well, I mean the same picture.
The same exact picture of Jeff Goldblum every single day. The important part is the every single day.
Yes, I started to notice. I'm like, oh, again. And here he is again.
It's to the point where, though, you don't get it. Like, I was in Japan and I was 13 hours off and I had people panicking because they didn't see Jeff. Like, it's my proof of life.
Okay.
But you talk about social anxiety. You talk about not being able to interact. And sometimes you have to use tethers or masks or rituals just to get by. So I made a promise that I wouldn't curl up and turtle completely, that I would communicate to people I knew and loved once a day. And me being me, I had to make it ridiculous because it was actually very serious. It was very personal. It was very deep. But by enrobing it in ridiculousness and something nobody would expect, it kind of let me be free because I could do something very banal. I could sneak in something deep, but it was always familiar and it became comforting. So it's one of those things that's absolutely ridiculous, but it's completely me. I mean, life is ridiculous. The universe is ridiculous. So why not have the same picture of Jeff Goldblum every day speaking for me? So basically he's that mask I can put on. So if I'm like really upset or having a bad day and I don't want to talk to anyone, I can still kind of go, hey, I want to see some cat videos, or I did this at work, or I baked something. I'm still making that effort, and you would be amazed at how freeing it is, because that little ritual, it's like getting your coffee at the favorite store. It's your blanket that makes you feel safe. And mine just happens to be a picture of Jeff Goldblum. And now my mother-in-law uses it to check in on me. So I got to keep going.
I have to say, I didn't expect it to be that sweet of a story, but
people go, what? But I have gotten a lot of Jeff Goldblum themed items. I have gotten from friends. I've gotten from fans. I have a pillowcase that has the same photo of Jeff Goldblum under my head every single night. And I have the legendary Cthulhu lounging in Jeff Goldblum's pose from Jurassic Park.
Right.
Which is a movie I actually don't really like, but people assume I love.
Interesting.
And it's my dad's fault. It is 100% my dad's fault. So Michael Crichton, rest in peace, went to school with my dad.
Oh.
And he just didn't have nice things to say about it.
You gotta separate the art from the artist.
But he likes other things that Michael Crichton wrote, but he hates Jurassic Park.
That's so
and
weird.
It's always colored it. And I read the book. And I got frustrated with the science point. And then I watched the movie. I was distracted by Jeff Goldblum, I won't lie. But I got distracted by some of the science points. And so it's a complicated relationship with Jurassic Park.
Man, I loved Jurassic Park because I loved dinosaurs and I just loved seeing them on the big screen. And I was a kid at the time. I think I was maybe like 10 or 11 when the first Jurassic Park movie came out. And my dad, he normally falls asleep through the opening credits of a movie. And I remember he actually stayed awake through the whole thing. My dad's horrified.
You see the brachiosaurs and you're like,
oh man, yeah, you're fucking dinosaurs. My daughter sings that one.
I have a question for you though. It's a very important question I don't think is asked enough. What is your favorite dinosaur, Crystal?
I'm gonna say, oh, hang on. Pterodactyl, or at least some scary version of the pterodactyl that I see in my head.
Technically not dinosaurs.
What bullshit?
Flying reptiles. They're not actually dinosaurs. I'm not saying that you can't say it. I'll say, what is your favorite dinosaur or dinosaur adjacent reptile?
Dinosaur adjacent reptile
would be a pterodactyl.
Would be a pterodactyl. And I also love crocodiles, and technically they're kind of like dinosaurs, right? And
they're actually farther away from a dinosaur than a chicken.
Oh, well, they're pretty though.
They are pretty. I do love them. I'm not kidding. My daughter has a bearded dragon, but that's the thing that nobody gets is like your theropods, those terrifying dinosaurs you think of, they turned into birds.
Yep.
And reptiles like crocodiles actually branched off much earlier. So crocodiles did exist at the same time as dinosaurs.
So birds are more closely...
they're the descendants of dinosaurs.
So maybe like an emu. I had an emu. I actually had one.
Oh my God. That's a terrifying descendant of a raptor.
Oh my God. Well, it wandered up into our yard and we lived out in the middle of the woods. There was nothing close to where we lived. I have no idea where this bird came from. He came out of the woods. I guess it was a girl. I didn't know at the time. But everyone was like, what is that in the yard? And I went outside and I just grabbed it by its neck and I looked it in the eyes and it had these beautiful flowing eyelashes and we became best friends. I named her Reginald. I didn't know at the time, but
it was
Regina. The girl emus make this beautiful drumming noise and it sounds like someone drumming like in the woods or something. And we had been hearing this drumming in the woods. It was very Jumanji, very eerie when you didn't know what it was. Yeah. And she just came out and I had a job working in an office and I would buy her food and hose her off and she was like my dog while we had her.
That's amazing.
Yeah, emus.
So now you know that you had a dinosaur descendant as a pet.
Yep, even better than a what do you call it, crocodile? Because crocodiles aren't super emotional. They don't really form bonds or attachments with people.
Not as much, no. Although say like my daughter's my grand lizard, as I call it, the bearded dragon is pretty personable.
I had a leopard gecko, and I swear people always say you're just projecting your own emotions onto him. And I'm like, no, he loves me. No one can convince me otherwise.
Well, I think people who don't keep animals, like a lot of people, they get cats and dogs. They're mammals, they're furry. But I have fish, and my fish know who feeds them versus who doesn't. I had one fish that I called Wiley Fokker, who knew that Nick was, because I'm terrified of touching fish. Yes, I keep fish. I wanted to be a marine biologist. I'm terrified of touching them. Don't judge me. But they knew that if my husband was walking over with the net, that meant he was in trouble. If it was me, he would stay out because I'm the one that feeds them. So they're not dumb. They're pretty amazing animals. And I had a beta sorority, and boy, nothing will teach you about drama like a group of female betas in one tank.
Oh shit. I didn't know that they could be in the same thing together.
Yeah, you can't keep two males together. They will kill each other. You can keep females, but you have to use the same thing as you do with like African cichlids. You have to keep them kind of overstocked. They have to have aggression balance, and they form almost like a pride of lionesses or a wolf pack. They get their own hierarchy. As long as the hierarchy is intact, it's peaceful. But I had a case where one beta said, I'm going for it. They were all named after Smash Brothers characters, and the alpha was Bowsette.
Appropriate.
Bowsette was a 4-inch long wild placket koi mix. She was huge.
Hey, baby.
This one, Link, because keep in mind, Link did dress up as a girl in Breath of the Wild. So Link made a run at her and went for the gills, and they had a mega fight, and I had to separate them, and they both ended up actually dying from complications of the fight. But I remember that if any fish is in Fish Valhalla, it is Bowsette. But it was intense. It's not a beginning fish keeper a thing you would do. You really have to watch them, and it can be stressful.
Damn, dude. Yeah, betas, they don't fuck around. They are
not.
Brilliant. Valkyrie.
Yeah, one of them, I had one named Iris who had come in, and she was beautiful, but she was smaller, and she got startled by one of the other big bettas, and she did the arowana ram, which if you don't keep fish keeping, you don't know what that is. The arowana ram is when certain fish get easily startled and they don't see the glass and they go straight line and they basically kill themselves with head trauma.
Oh my God.
Fish keeping is not for the faint of heart.
So it's like, when you've had one too many Cosmos and you run into the sliding glass door when you're trying to get to the patio.
Yeah, except you do it with the force to smash your own head.
Kill yourself. Jeez, man.
Yep.
That's terrible. Well, shit.
How do you follow that?
I don't know how to segue out of that one. If you had one piece of advice to offer aspiring authors, what would it be?
Don't give up. I mean, my dream of being a writer was old enough to drink when it was finally realized. You have to write a lot of words to get to the good ones. So you're going to be told no a lot. You're going to be told what to do a lot. And in the end, sometimes you have to just listen to everything. Always listen. And then listen to yourself afterwards. And once you get that kind of distilled down, just keep writing. Because everyone in the world, well, that's a big generalization, but most people in the world are going to tell you no, don't do it, give up. And they're very easy to listen to. I listened to them for a long time. Nobody's perfect. And they mean well. They're trying to set expectations. But in the end, if you love doing it, just keep listening to yourself and keep on writing.
Cheers to that. Now that this has been a really awesome writing happy hour. I am so happy that I got the chance to meet you. This is just
thrilled to be here. I mean, I thought this is wonderful. All the blue-haired middle-aged ladies need to stick together.
Exactly. We need support groups.
We do. With more drinks.
Now that we are good and buzzed, can you tell our viewers one more time about what you've got going on and where they can find you to check out your
Oh my God. So if you want to keep up to date, try rachelecarr.com. Remember, I'm Rachel E. Carr because Rachel Carr writes vegan cookbooks. That is not me.
Good job.
And when I write, I'm R.E. Carr because even though it's 2021, I don't write romance predominantly, and I was told use my initials. Also because Rachel Carr already wrote vegan cookbooks. So yes, you can catch me on my website. If you look for me on social media, I am known as Total Recar. And if you get that reference, you will get my humor. I'm on the Instagram, the Twitter, and you can follow the Bread Slut hashtag if you want to see delicious baked goods. Right now, my next upcoming release is Sins of the Past. It is a co-written book with the one and only Rick Gualtieri. It is the tale of Ed the vampire for a change instead of Bill, and a new character, Serena Taylor, who is a techno witch. So if you want to check that out, Sins of the Past is available on Amazon for pre-order right now and will be out on May 11th, 2021.
May 11th. I don't have a round of applause sound effect yet. I'm too poor to afford that one. But Rachel, you are an amazing writer with a twisted brain and so many wonderful books that are out. And thank you so much. I appreciate you to the moon and back for coming in and having drinks with us.
Oh, anytime. And at one point, you should probably get me and Rick so we can just get drunk together.
Oh my God. Hell yes. I'm all about this.
So feel free, because we've got 4 books coming out. There are 4 Bill books coming out this year.
Well, we're gonna have
2
to
of
all
them
get
I'm
together.
partially responsible for, so.
And you know what? Honestly, I need to do like a redemption video with Rick because he was my first video.
It was what I watched that video. That's why I agreed to come on. So don't feel so bad.
I was so scared that whole thing. Oh my god! But
Well,
I
he is
definitely owe
incredibly
I definitely owe him a good writing happy hour. Now
Well,
that
you can get us, and you can get the epic story of our first meeting and how we came in contact, because it is exactly as ridiculous as you'd expect. And we are Facebook friends on an anniversary of Halloween as 2 vampire authors.
That's freaking awesome. And I will leave this video with a cliffhanger, just like you goddamn do it with all your books. You evil
It's really
lady.
bad. Sorry in advance for 10.
Well, thank you so much. And I appreciate you. And we will see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.